Hi, I'm Kristin Parks, co-founder of Parks Paranormal Research and Investigation. I'm going to tell you a story about the Majestic Theatre. The Majestic Theatre is the longest continually operating theater in the United States. There's a lot of paranormal stuff that revolves around it. Some people believe it to be true, some don't. The story I'm about to relate is definitely true. I know it is because it happened to me. The Majestic Theatre had closed for a while due to economic problems and because they needed to do some repairs on the building. When they reopened, they had a grand reopening where they started offering double features on Friday nights. You could get 2 movies for $7. I decided to go because A, I love the Majestic and its nostalgia, and B, I love films. So I went to the movies with my mom. I sat through the first film, which was really good, and we shared a large drink. When it was over, I really needed to use the restroom. I excused myself and went to the bathrooms. The bathrooms are located in the back of the theater. They're behind a partition, down a little hallway, and there are curtains that go in front of it, so you can't see into the auditorium area. Well, the line was very long, and I waited during the intermission, waiting to use the restroom. Finally, I got a chance to go to the restroom, and when I came back out, the next movie was beginning to start. They had already turned all the theater lights off. Suddenly, I realized I couldn't see. I hadn't been in the Majestic for a really long time at this point, and I was afraid I was going to trip in the dark and land on my face, which would have been really embarrassing in front of an entire auditorium of other people. So I'm looking around trying to figure out what to do when I notice a man standing off to the side in front of me. He was wearing a uniform that was khaki and red with gold buttons, and he had a square hat on top of his head. He sort of looked like a bellhop from a hotel. I realized he must be an usher, and I was really excited that the Majestic had gone this far out, that they were actually hiring ushers that looked like the Majestic's heyday. So I thought that was really cool. I went up to the guy and I asked him if he could lead me to my seat since I was having trouble finding my way back in the dark. He didn't answer me, but he kind of nodded, and I figured he was trying to be quiet because, as I said, the movie was about to start. He led me down the walkway and into the aisle of the auditorium. We went down several rows when I finally found my mom, who was about 4 seats in off the aisle. She waved to me, I waved back, and I turned to thank the usher for leading me to my seat. But by that point, he was already gone. I went into my seat, sat down, and the next movie started. When it was over, the lights came up, and I explained to my mom how helpful the usher had been and how cool his uniform was. I thought it was really neat because, it had been so dark. My mom looked at me like I was crazy, and she said, "What usher?" I said, "They had an usher that was dressed in period clothing, from the Majestic's heyday." She thought I was insane because she said that, the theater had been having financial problems. We were seeing 2 movies as it was for $7. They couldn't afford to hire ushers too, especially not ones in period costumes. Sometimes I think she missed some things, and because it was my youth, I decided I was going to prove her wrong. I grabbed her by the hand and led her to the front of the theater, where I knew there was a manager working concessions. I looked at him and I said, "I want to thank the usher who led me to my seat earlier. He was really helpful." And the guy said, "We don't have any ushers." And I said, "What?" I said, "There was an usher dressed in khaki and red with gold buttons. He was wearing a uniform. I want to thank him for leading me to my seat." Again, he repeated that the Majestic had not hired any new ushers. It was then that I realized they hadn't hired any new ushers. They didn't need to. Their old one never left.